As you're probably aware, last month the National Enquirer leaked a series of suggestive text messages sent by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to his new post-divorce lover. There has been a flurry of media attention over the very public feud between the National Enquirer and Mr. Bezos regarding an alleged nude photo of Jeff that the Enquirer is threatening to release. One has to wonder how Mr. Bezos' sensitive information was compromised in the first place. Surely an e-commerce giant like Jeff would know how to encrypt his text messages and image files. There is a broader issue here, one of privacy in the digital age. Kara Swisher of the New York Times questioned, if Bezos had his information compromised, is anyone safe? The short and sweet answer is no. The United States lacks any clear laws that secure internet privacy for its citizens, a fact which came to public attention in June 2013 when Edward Snowden released compromising data collected by the National Security Agency on innocent American citizens. In this presentation, India team, comprised of Michele Noblitt, Skyler Arellano, and myself, Emily Giroux, will use the Snowden leaks as a case study for privacy, security, and ethical decision-making in the digital age. In this presentation, we will cover the specifics of Edward Snowden's 2013 NSA leaks. Then we will look at the ethical implications of the actions taken by Snowden and the NSA. Finally, we will discuss the importance of security and control, as well as the legal gray areas of privacy laws in the digital age. In June 2013, former NSA contracted worker Edward Snowden released classified information from the National Security Agency on the PRISM project to the British newspaper The Guardian. The NSA began the PRISM surveillance program shortly after the 9/11 attacks in order to identify potential terrorist suspects. Under the PRISM project, the NSA collected communications data on the instant messages, emails, phone calls, and text messages of any citizen and some foreign nationals who use these methods to communicate with anyone else. If some communications were flagged as suspicious, the NSA might then do further investigation into whether the individual posed a threat to national security. The media attention on this case sparked outrage from the American public, who never imagined that the government was surveying their communications to this degree. In response, the federal government pressed charges against Snowden for treason and espionage. Fearing the legal ramifications of his actions, Snowden fled to the country to Russia, where he remains. With the Snowden leaks came the revelation that the government was getting communications data on American citizens from public communications providers, including Verizon, Google, and Facebook. The public outrage from these revelations prompted large tech companies to change their user privacy rights so that users viewed them as more transparent about how and when their data was being collected and used. This trend toward protecting users' privacy with better security and controls is mutually beneficial to companies and their consumers and is an example that all businesses should follow moving forward. In the Essentials of Management Information Systems, Lawton and Lawton gave a brief overview of the key principles and rules of ethical analysis. The two most useful to the Snowden case are the slippery slope rule and the utilitarian principle. The slippery slope rule refers to the line of reasoning that a small action now might lead to more consequential actions in the future. Applying the slippery slope rule to the Project PRISM leads to a daunting question. If the government was allowed to survey the communications of innocent Americans without their knowledge, what other governmental oversteps are in store for the future, and what might that mean for Americans' privacy rights? Those who follow this rule of ethical thought to its end are sure to regard Snowden as a people's hero. Without him, the NSA might have expanded the PRISM project without any public oversight. There is a powerful counter-argument to this line of reasoning. After all, the NSA had been conducting the PRISM project for a number of years with congressional oversight, so there were some checks and balances involved. Furthermore, the project was founded using the 2001 Patriot Act as its legal basis. More details on this later. The utilitarian principle of ethical reasoning states that the ethical action is the one that does the most good for the most people while causing the least amount of harm. This is tricky, as both the NSA and Edward Snowden could use this principle to justify their actions. The National Security Agency may have believed that it was morally appropriate to survey private communications in the interest of keeping the public safe from terrorism threats. On the other hand, Snowden likely felt that the national security threat posed by leaking this information was minimized by the need to let the public know that the government was conducting extensive surveillance on their communications. Following this ethical analysis to its logical conclusion shows that the 2013 Snowden case might represent an ethical gray zone in which questions of digital privacy and security naturally arise. What are the implications of the Snowden case in regards to Americans' right to privacy? Privacy refers to an individual's right to be free from surveillance in their personal affairs. This right is alluded to in the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, which protects Americans against search and seizure without probable cause. It is hard to know whether the Founding Fathers intended for the Fourth Amendment right to extend to online privacy, as they never could have conceived of the World Wide Web or mobile phones. Even in the aftermath of the Snowden revelations, federal courts have yet to rule on the issue of search and seizure of digital information. However, earlier in this presentation, we learned that the NSA believed that the U.S. Patriot Act gave them the legal power to collect communications data for the PRISM program. Section 215 of the United States Patriot Act permitted intelligence agents to obtain communications records if they were judged as relevant to issues of terrorism or espionage. In a federal court ruling on the Snowden case, the PRISM program was found to be a misuse of the original intentions of Section 215, and the project was subsequently disbanded. With no clear ruling on whether Americans actually have the right to online privacy, the future remains uncertain. As communications technology becomes more widespread, mobile, and invasive, it is more important now than ever for American citizens, even tech billionaires like Jeff Bezos, to be careful about the sensitive information they put out in the form of digital communications. Of course, it can be argued that the entire Snowden fiasco might have been prevented if the NSA had used appropriate information security management systems. The fact that Snowden was able to hack into the NSA's database and copy sensitive information on innocent United States citizens is as embarrassing as it is alarming. This case study highlights the need for businesses and government agencies to invest in information security systems that can protect sensitive information from unauthorized access, theft, or damage. At the end of the day, technology is available and should be used to protect sensitive information rather than exploit it or endanger it. It is likely that a better security policy might have protected the National Security Agency from suffering so much public backlash in regards to the Edward Snowden case. That said, individual citizens might also have benefited from some basic knowledge on how to protect their own privacy online. End-to-end encryption services protect communications data from sender to receiver so that outside sources will find it much more difficult to collect data on the contents of these online messages. Installing and using an E2E messaging application might be a more secure alternative to texting and standard email. Internet users might also consider using a virtual private network to protect their online activity from being collected by their internet service provider. The most important step internet users can take to protect their privacy is to change their habits. It is important in the digital age that internet users are aware of when their information is protected and when it simply is not. Simple shifts like the ones listed here might be made to ensure a greater amount of privacy online. On behalf of India team, Michele, Skyler, and I would like to express our sincere hope that the information presented here on the Snowden case might provide some food for thought on how you and your business might protect your sensitive information from third-party access. In this new digital era, there is no guarantee that third parties will honor your right to privacy. If the Snowden case yields any lessons, it is that the individual must take steps to ensure their own online communications privacy, even if that individual is a multi-billionaire like Jeff Bezos. Thank you.